Hey, what is going on everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and here yet again in front of the Xbox 360, a modified one, mind you, a RGH or a hard modded system, because this here is going to be talking about a store for the Xbox 360. No, I'm not talking about the digital storefront or marketplace that shut down on July 29th, 2024. I'm going to be talking about a new store that has been created, because you know what they say, when one door closes, another door opens. Now with completely perfect timing, the same day the marketplace ended up shutting down, we ended up getting the Xbox 360 Homebrew store, a new development and a new script that you can plug into Aurora directly from developer Durf, who also had assistance with this from Cheeto as a starting point for a content distribution system that they had set up before. Now if that name sounds familiar, not only Durf has helped a lot in the scene, but I also just covered one of his developments which installs very similarly using the Zifu spoofer, which allows you to have more control over the original Xbox emulator on the Xbox 360. So this is another really awesome and welcome development to see here. I'm going to have this page linked for Retro RGB down below in the description, in which Durf talks a little bit about this here, gives a little bit of history here, talks about what it is a little more, and also shows how you can download the Homebrew store and get it all set up. There's also a great page on console mods which covers this here, because not only this does plug into the console mods repository, and do keep in mind this by default is only for Homebrew and applications and such on there. By default it is connected to console mods, but you can always hook up your other own repositories if you so wish to. I'm not going to be covering that in this video here. However, you can see here that there are instructions that show how you can do this once you have this all set up. Now, if this sounds like something that's interesting to you because you might want to get some more mileage out of your Xbox 360, or you just want to load up a cool new development on there, thankfully you are in the right place. First of all, you are going to need a hard-modded Xbox 360, meaning it is a RGH, a JTAG, some kind of hard-modded system that allows you to run Homebrew, such as this here, which is the Aurora dashboard. Secondly, you also need Aurora set up on your system up and running. And third, you are going to need internet on this. That is going to be a requirement because in order to connect to the console mods repository for this example here, to download the Homebrew applications and emulators that we want, you are going to need internet access on your system. Whether it be wired or wireless, it's completely up to you. So in order to get this installed, there's two methods that we can install this on, and I'm going to show you the both of them. The first one is going to be the easier option, and it's going to be directly in Aurora. But do keep in mind, you must have your console connected to the internet for this procedure. In order to get this all set up, make sure you're running Aurora, make sure you're connected online on your system, press the back button on your controller, go down to Scripts, now go to the Aurora repo browser and open it up. Once it's opened, go down to Utility Scripts, and now go down to the Homebrew store, and it might be updated by the time you're watching this, but all you need to do is tap A to select, say yes to install the script. Now we can go back yet again, and as you can see, once this refreshes, you now have access to the Homebrew store, so if you ever want to access that, you can just from Aurora, hit the back button on your controller, go to Scripts, go down to the Homebrew store, and launch it. Now alternatively, if for some reason you cannot connect to the wider internet on your console, or you just want to set this up now and you want to connect to the internet later on your system, that's fine as well too. You can set up the Homebrew store on your console using a USB drive, although do keep in mind your mileage isn't going to get very far since you will need internet for this. In order to get this all set up here, I'll have the link for the console mods page for the Homebrew store linked down below in the description of this video. All you need to do is come over to the usage section and then click on the download link in order to download the latest zip file of the Homebrew store. When it brings you to this page, go ahead, click on the zip file download here and save it somewhere you can easily find it. Now make sure you have your USB drive on hand and make sure it is formatted to FAT32. You can check the properties on here and the file system should be FAT32. I'm not going to go into the format procedure here because if you've used a 360 for file transfers from a USB drive, you should be familiar with setting that up properly on the system. But as long as your file system is FAT32, we can close out of there. Go ahead, grab the zip file. You can right click this zip file, go to whatever extraction software you use, such as 7-zip, and extract it into its own folder. If you want to, you can open up this folder once it's created, and you can check this out right here where you have the PNG, you have the Lua scripts, but if you go into repos, you can check out an example of a ini file right here. So this is the one it comes with by default, which is the consolemods.org repository. And if we double click this here, as you can see, this is how it's set up. So it's able to point directly to a few ini files that have already been set up and established on consolemods.org. But you can see this is the format that you need to use, and it's been commented out here at the bottom. So if you ever want to set up or put in a new repository, as long as it goes with this standard here, you should be able to add it in on your own console. Now I'm going to close out of this, come back out here, just close out of that actually. In order to transfer this over, just open up your USB drive, copy and paste the folder for the Homebrew store, then come out here, right click, eject a USB drive, and take it over to your console. Over at the console, go ahead and plug in your USB drive, make sure it has been detected like that, and once it's been detected, press the back button, go to the file manager, and from here, go over to your USB drive, and inside the USB drive, highlight the Homebrew store, go over to the left and go down to the copy option and tap A to copy this out. Now we can navigate over to the Aurora section. So within Aurora, you can go in there, go into user, go into scripts, go into the utility folder. And once you're here, you can go back over to the left, go down and tap A for the paste option to let it paste in there. Once that's completed, we can exit out of this completely. And once we exit out of that, we can press the back button on our controller, go to scripts, and as you can see, the Homebrew store is loaded up this way. So there's two different ways of installing it. Now for actual usage of the Homebrew store, it's pretty simple, but I'll show you around a little bit here. When you're in Aurora, you can press the back button, open up the scripts option, go down to Homebrew store, and wait for it to populate. Once it does, you're going to see an option to enter a URL if you want to enter a URL later on for any other repositories that might be opened up. And I hope to see some other ones that are going to be established since this is going to be out and available to everyone. However, you can just go through these here and it's pretty self-explanatory. If we want to look at Homebrew apps, for example, we can go ahead and open this up. And here you have nice options for picking whichever Homebrew apps you might want to download and set up on your system. I know, for example, I don't think I have Simple 360 NAND Flasher on the system, so if I want to download this, for example, I can highlight it, tap the A button, and it's going to show the path where this is going to install. It's going to install to the apps path, so I'm going to say yes right here, and go ahead and let it download. Now that one was pretty quick, so it was able to download and install pretty quickly, thankfully. If we want to go back, we can check out anything else here, like if you want to check out an emulator. Now keep in mind, these are not going to include games on them, mind you, but it will have the executable, so you can get everything set up on this. If you want to do something such as SNES 360 for Super Nintendo emulation, just tap the A button, let it load up. It does have a description right here and also a warning showing that Homebrew achievements can get your live profile banned. This is something that's a little bit more exclusive to SNES 360, but do keep that in mind. And once you have this set up here, we can say yes, let it download, go through all this where it's going to download the content, extract it out, and set it up properly on your console. And there we go, that one's been installed. Now, there's a couple things that I've installed, and if you're done installing things, when you exit out, it's going to have a reload required pop-up right here. Just go ahead and say yes, let it close out, and let it reload Aurora on your system. Alright, now if you come out here and it's scanning for content and it doesn't find anything new, that's going to be something that you'll have to set up on here. So mine was able to find one new thing. Let's check it out. Alright, so I already had a path set up, which means I was able to load up Simple 360 NAND Flasher. So this has been downloaded, it's working, it's all good to go. If I want to fire this up, I can tap the A button, it loads up, and as you can see right here, this is Simple 360 NAND Flasher now on my internal hard drive. I don't want to do anything with this right now, so I'm just going to press the B button to back out of this. However, you all might be noticing that I did install an emulator, but it's not showing up on here. So for any content that you download that does not show up, that just means it hasn't been configured on your Aurora setup as a path, or you need to scan for that. So in order to do that here, it's pretty simple. Just hit the Start button, go down to Content, go down to Manage Paths, and hit the A button on Add. Now what we'll need to do is select our location, so tap the A button on change, and for this it's going to be in HDD1, and I believe since it's an emulator, it automatically downloads into the emulators folder. So right here, just to check this, emulators, SNES 360 is right there, and there we go, we have the executable. So you do need to check and see what the scan depth is going to be, but if we just select emulators, as you can see, this is the first folder, this is the second folder, and that is the executable, which means in order to get to the executable, there's going to be a scan depth of 2. So I'm going to go back here, I'm going to highlight the emulators folder, tap the Y button to select it, scan depth is 2, which is exactly what I need, and for the script data, you can set it to anything here really. Usually I set this to none, but if this is emulators, well, we can go ahead and set to emulators. Now go over to the right, hit save, and once that's done, you might have auto scan already set up, but if you don't have auto scan set up, you can tap scan now. And now when we close out of here, you should see I have 24 options, and if we scroll over, let's find where it's at, there we go, SNES 360. So we can go ahead, fire this up here. I think one of the achievements pops up, there we go, achievement pops up immediately. So if you have a live profile, you are going to want to be careful on that. However, as you can see, that's all there is to it. So that is an emulator and an application that were downloaded successfully. All we need to do is close out of here so we can get back to our Aurora dashboard. Now I know some people were probably expecting an actual application such as this or this to show up on here, but honestly I've been pretty happy with this so far, and I think it's really cool seeing a store like this because this is actually something that I've wanted to have on a hard modded 360 for a while, just to be able to connect it to the internet, load up something like this, and then be able to download a few necessary applications or just explore and see what's available on here. And I would recommend at least giving this a download and a shot and seeing what's on here, because you might find some stuff that piques your interest a little bit and you might find a little bit interesting on the console. Either way, that is about it for this video here, and that is about it for the Homebrew store. And if you enjoyed this video, a like would absolutely be appreciated. If you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well too. And more importantly, if you ended up enjoying the Homebrew store right here, go ahead and give the creators here some appreciation. Because again, this is something that I've really wanted to have on the 360 for a while, but it's really awesome to see that it's finally available here in 2024, and kind of poetic that it happened, you know, the same day of the store closure. Anyways, that's about it for this video here. This is Mr. Mario, signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, a like would absolutely be appreciated, and if you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well too.